Alright, in this video I'm going to show you a very typical Megacorp turn sequence. Okay, so for starters, I put down my business and I can dock my founder anywhere on its edges. So let's dock the glass man on its left edge, and I begin the game with 10 million credits, and of course draw 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, these cards in my hand are not shown to my opponent, and I'm just going to lay them out here so you can see what I'm doing here. Alright, now for starters, A phase, I have no upkeep and no cash flow, so that doesn't happen. I've got no cards to disengage, and what I'm going to do next is reveal the top card of my resource deck. Now, at this point, I should be able to draw a card, but because this is the very first turn of a 2-player game, I don't get to draw. Alright, now I want to play the Selfish Consumers. If I don't play this card, it goes to the bottom of my resource deck, but in this case I would like to play a consumer card. It's 0 million valuation. That means I don't need to spend any money to play it. However, I need to spend this 1 MQ in this cost. You see this logo is the same as the logo down here. Alright, so I can either engage my business, that is turn my business upside down, to generate one of these 4 traits. I can do the same thing with the glass man, my founder. Now, I don't want to do that with my business on the very first turn because my opponent might buy my business outright and I might just lose the game. So I'm going to do that with the glass man and produce 3 MQ, which is the white trait. Now, one of these 3 MQ goes to pay for the Selfish Consumers, reducing me to 2 MQ. Now, I would still like to play an additional card. Now, all of these cards have very, very high MQ cost. Okay, however, I can play the bomber drone, and the bomber drone does not have an upkeep and it's cost 3 million valuation. So I'm going to put that right there and spend 3 million, bringing me down to 7. Okay, now it's my combat phase. I can actually attack my opponent. Now in this demonstration video, I don't have an opponent, so I'm not going to do anything during the combat step. But during the divest phase, which is the D phase, okay, I can choose to sell any one of my cards. I can't sell the glass man because he's upside down. Engaged cards can't be sold. So I can either choose to sell the bomber drone or sell the Selfish Consumers. But why would I want to do that? Because the Selfish Consumers produce 1 cash flow every turn, and the bomber drone essentially doesn't do anything if I sold it right now. If I sell cards to my open market pile, my opponent also has access to them. So this is not a wise move to do. And the subsequent phase after that is E phase, which is end of the turn. Is there any loss conditions? Am I reduced to 0 million? No, I'm not. Is my business orphaned? No, it's not. And nobody has destroyed or bought my business, so I don't lose the game. Okay, so let's pass the turn to my opponent, and then he finishes his turn and passes right back. So let's go through this turn again. First, let's account for cash flow. Cash flow 1 million, so I gain 1 million back. That is a passive ability. You do not gain this cash flow if the Selfish Consumers is engaged. Okay. The next step, of course, is upkeep. There's no upkeep on my board right now, so I don't need to pay any. This goes away. Then disengage. You notice that the cash flow and upkeep ability is before the disengage step. That's because cards with the cash flow ability or with any continuous ability, except for upkeep, they are deactivated if they are engaged. Okay. Now reveal the top card of my resource deck and I draw a card. Now, right now I have the option of playing a card called the Corp Advisor. Now the Corp Advisor basically has 1 upkeep and he has 2 million valuation with 1 MQ trade cost. So what I'm going to do now is basically spend $2 million to play the Corp Advisor. You notice this, right? I didn't have to play this card first. You know, although you have to play this card by the end of your buy phase, otherwise it goes to the bottom of the stack. Okay, so I don't have the MQ to pay for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invert the bomber drone. No, the bomber drone does not have MQ. See, so I can't do that. But I can invert the glass man. Now, in some tournament gameplay or competitive gameplay, you might want to turn your business at this stage because your opponent might not have enough money to actually buy your business. But I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. Okay, so I produce 3 MQ by inverting the glass man. I spend 1 of it on the Corp Advisor. I spend 2 million on the Corp Advisor. I spend 1 more, so I spend 1 MQ, and I'm left with 1 MQ here when I spend for the Selfish Consumers. Now, sorry, I would like to put it here. Now what happens here? Now if I were to place a card surrounded by every edge in play. What happens is that this card, which is my business, can no longer be attacked. It can still be targeted by events, it can still be targeted by special abilities, but it cannot be attacked. It can still be bought. Okay, but this is a bit of a defensive maneuver, and it's one of the cardinal rules of the game. Okay, now I reach my divest step. Now you notice that there's actually an ability triggered by the Corp Advisor. When Corp Advisor is deployed, draw a card. So I get to draw one card here. I drew a Corp Executive. Now, during my divest step, I can actually choose to sell the Corp Advisor. This way, I get my 2 million back, bringing me back to 8 million. Now, if I were to repeat this process the next turn, I could essentially draw an extra card. Okay, now reaching my end step, nothing happens. Okay, let's go to turn 3. My opponent goes, and then it's now my turn again. Okay, now let's do things in order. First, cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. I have 2 cash flow cards, so I'm gonna get 2 million. I'm back up to 10 million. Okay, I have no upkeep because I sold the Corp Advisor. My bomber drone does not have any upkeep. Okay, and now disengage. Now reveal and draw. Political corruption. Oh, I got executives, I have a drone, I have a Corp Executive. It's a pretty good hand actually. So what's going to happen here, I'm going to just show you the process again. Cash flow, upkeep, disengage, reveal, draw. Okay, now it's my buy phase. I can turn my business upside down now to produce 10 MQ. 10 MQ is here. And I spend 1 MQ to play Selfish Consumers. So I'm left with 9. That's 0 million valuation, so I don't spend any money. And I can actually spend 3 MQ to play Corp Executive. Now he costs 4 million, so I gotta reduce my money by 4, bringing me down to 6. And of course, I spend 3 here, bringing this down to 6. Now the Corp Executive has an ability called Dead Drop. Now with Dead Drop, when this card is deployed from your hand, search your deck for equipment cards with total valuation of 4 million, then deploy them for free. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to search through my deck for equipment adding up to 4 million. So you notice that drones are not equipment, neither are citizens, neither are sentry drones. However, a mech suit, such as the Avatar Industries Mariner suit, is actually equipment. So I could play that for free, leaving me with 2 more points of dead drop. And powered armor is another 2 million points, so I can deploy that for free. So I shuffle my deck and place it back there. Now, that's my open market pile. Now, what's going to happen now? You notice that the Avatar Industry suit actually has a really cool ability called Camouflage. If it actually adjacent to a card with a keyword water, it cannot be attacked or targeted. Unfortunately, we don't have any water keyword cards here, but there are, believe me. Okay, it has an upkeep of 1 million, and you can spend 1 million to bond a target character to this card. Now, I would like to do that with the Corp Executive, because if I put him underneath the Avatar Industries Mariner suit, essentially means that he can't be targeted by an attack. You have to hit the suit, and the suit basically has 3 IQ and 3 BQ, which you may think is a downgrade from the Corp Executive's existing stats. However, it has a null EQ and a null MQ, means that it can't be attacked by these 2 stats. Essentially, a little bit more useful than you would otherwise think. So I would spend 1 million here, bring it down to 5 million. And bond means I put it underneath. Now remember, in a bonding situation like this, if a bonded card is destroyed, it means basically if the top card is destroyed, everything under it is destroyed as well. Okay, now powered armor basically does pretty much the same thing, except it's got 3 null stats and just BQ. So this might be a good situation if I were to bond, for example, a drone to it.